So essentially nobody is talking about this, and I don't know why, because this is unarguably the biggest news that we've heard to come out of a YouTube channel. Digital Trends recently decided that they're going to change the way they did reviews. Now, for anyone who's kidding themselves, they're one of the largest, most influential journalism platforms for AV tech anything there is. What that means for you is that they're changing something that didn't work, which gave a negative message to manufacturers to keep giving us subpar goods. The message that they're changing is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I watched that video in its entirety, and there were a lot of admirable points, and all I could say is it's about damn time. Now, why make a video about someone else's changes and what they're planning on doing? Well, simply put, no one person can do it alone. This is a community. That's why we call it the audiovisual community, or AV for short, community. Now, the interesting part about this all is the shift towards the more budget end to help everyday people. Now, in that video, it was called affordable, but come on, we know what it means. Now, I have some speculations to this. I suspect that the well dried up. I mean, let's call it what it is. There just aren't that many people these days walking around with flagship television money. You're talking, you need upwards of over $2,500 plus tax, and in a lot of cases, upwards of over $3,000 if you're going to a 65-inch, just to have a television. Most people are not even going to have time to watch once you factor in their busy lives, hectic schedules, children, the list goes on. It's just unrealistic, and a lot of people don't spend that money and instead look for good enough options like the TCL Q6MK. Now, I haven't fully seen it. You guys saw what happened in the last video. It got damaged, but I suspect that Digital Trends, seeing the power of what TCL is capable of doing at just the budget range, opened his eyes to what's possible on the market today. And that means that we, as consumers, can start getting better products, better performing products at affordable prices. Because when you have a massive publication with over 1 million followers come out and say, hey, we're going to look at multiple aspects of this and talk about it, it's big news for everyday people, because influence is what companies ultimately cater to. They don't cater to guys like myself who have under 1 million followers. They don't care, frankly, because we aren't big enough to, again, make them feel like there's an audience that they could tap into and exploit for financial gain. That's the reality of the situation. Let alone if you have a blog or a publication that you can then post articles and give them press, which can be used over and over again. That's a very big benefit to a lot of companies. Now, this isn't really like to sing the praises of Digital Trends. It's to tell you that the tides are shifting. In that video, he said something very interesting. Now, I've been saying this for the better part of a decade now. Accuracy does not matter. And it doesn't matter because we are pushing the boundaries well beyond what accuracy was ever intended to do, for SDR especially. You're talking about, again, 100 nits. Would you personally, watching this video today, buy a television if a manufacturer went to CES and said, this year, be very excited, folks, we're going to have 100 nits? I think it'd probably be the quietest room you'd ever heard in a building. So quiet you could hear a pin drop on carpet, okay? It would be the most laughable thing you've ever heard, because 100 nits isn't exciting. Now, 4,000 nits, now people are talking. 10,000 nits, now people are talking. But that is so beyond reference accuracy, it isn't even in the realm of possible to be accurate at those levels of brightness, but that's what people want to see. So now, companies like Digital Trends have to get off their high horse about being accurate. Admit that they were wrong, that that was the only way to do reviews, and change, because the tides have shifted. People don't care. And more people who make videos about accuracy and reference accuracy and all that, you see how badly those videos do. You see the lack of desire to go towards the Hollywood way of doing things and more towards the everyday, real-world way of doing things. And that's why I say it is a big deal that Digital Trends is now going to be talking about more budget-friendly stuff. Now, again, I do think it's a bit of a cop-out, because for years, I mean, they've been kind of looking down at us as we had to look up at them as everyday people, as they would pass these judgments off on the most flagship televisions, but never care about the budget consumer in the least, leaving it up to the independent guys like Stop the FOMO, Brian's Tech Therapy, Tech Steve, myself, Jolister G4K. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that were in the independent space that have to cover those budget TVs because there was just nobody to do it. And I would give a little nod towards Tech Steve being the most aggressive for the budget and consumer. So that's something I would say, if that's something that you like, he's definitely one of those people that you should check out because that's what he does. Now, to be fair, I have pointed out some lack of transparencies, like not mentioning blooming on purpose in one of his videos, but that's neither here nor there. Take what you can that's good from the guy and leave what's bad, like you do with every other video, I guess. The point of this is to say, now you're getting more options in the budget field. And on top of that, changing the accuracy only. It's all about Hollywood. It's all about reference. It's all about these Sony reference monitors. The stuff no one cares about. And getting to the heart of everyday people is, I think, one of the best and smartest things you could do, especially as we are so excited for our gaming PCs, which are monstrous these days, and our consoles, and everything else in between. And at a time where things are very expensive and probably going to get worse, whether it's through tariffs or it's just through the cost of manufacturing chips that are already having a shortage, it's going to be something that you have to be very careful with. Like, you can't just go at a TV purchase like you would like 10 years ago. 12 years ago and say, oh, screw it, I'll just buy this because this is the most expensive name brand and it's reliable. Now you have to actually hold companies' feet to the fire and say, are you still there? Because 9 times out of 10, if you're going through an inflation, they're going through an inflation. And you better believe they're going to pass that expense off on to you, the consumer, and you have to know this. And no one I've heard yet on YouTube has even had the candor to tell you this. That's where I come in as the number one brand in honesty, because I don't have to kiss their asses to stay in business, to keep talking about televisions and reviewing them every year. I rely on crowd and self-funding. We're a community. They're not a part of it. They can get their products reviewed here, but that's about as far as it goes because there's no money that ever changes hands, and we never get review sample units because they don't want honest reviews. What benefit is there for a guy to go through all the ins and outs, goods and bads of your television and compare them to how you did last year? Which brings me to my second and probably final major point of this entire video. Digital Trends offering a backlog is basically like what pretty much every serious AV guy has been doing the entire time. I myself take TVs that are from 2021, 2017, 2018, years in the backlogs, and compare them to what they do today. That reference is important to know, are TVs improving or are they not? Which is how I was able to show you the G5 ain't much better than a C1 in a lot of areas. And people were flabbergasted by that video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. You have Rtings that has their entire backlog of everything they've ever reviewed because they're a website and that's what they do. But the point is simply this: more options, more successful ways of, again, verifying and fact-checking information is going to help the long-term success and development of better products as time goes on. Now, that being said, I'd love to know what you guys think about Digital Trends' recent shift. I mean, we've never seen this happen to where a major news publication has decided to step down from the perch of accuracy is everything to the everyday consumer. I think it's a step in the right direction. I hope CNET follows. I hope Text Radar, Tom's Guide, the whole list of them. I hope everybody follows that and really applies that so that we can put pressure, hear that word, right? Pressure on companies to actually deliver a tangible improvement over last year's product versus just reskinning it. Because I don't want the same thing with a different set of features that are basically just renamed from the year prior. Because that's what this year is. The only notable difference I've seen is in some things like tandem OLED, maybe a little different, but it's still a WOLED, and all the features are still the same. I expect Sony to be very similar, but there are some rumors about them having a quantum dot OLED and some other things, but you get the idea. Through the community and our efforts, we can change things. And it's only when everyone plays ball that companies have to realize they can no longer buy us until we stop sending the message that we are cheap, that we are glorified corner walkers for sale for the tech industry. We will be bought and sold for cheap. And that is why I think this will change the landscape in a significant way if done correctly. Let me know if I'm right or wrong and your perspective on the whole thing again in the comments down below. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Till the next video, I'll see you guys later.